Hello and welcome to the Functional Tennis Podcast with me, your host, Fabio Molle. Every week I speak to the big hitters in the world of tennis, both on and off the court, about the game and how we can all get 1% better every day at what we do. As an ex-national team player, I know exactly how tough this can be, so I'm on a journey to get the very best tips and advice from the world of tennis. Last week on the podcast, I met Bill Ekstrom, founder of Excel Sports. In our chat, Bill explains the research behind his compelling theory that the key to getting results in sport is more down to building strong relationships rather than skill development. Bill also gives us his tips for what makes a great coach and why our greatest strength can become our greatest weakness. It's a fascinating episode, so make sure you check it out. This week on the Functional Tennis Podcast, I'll be speaking to former world number 3, Ivan Ljubicic. We all probably remember Ivan from great duels with legends like Nadal or Djokovic, his performance in Grand Slams or even his title wins, as well as coaching Roger Federer. But Ivan's life story is much more than that. Ivan grew up in the part of Europe formerly known as Yugoslavia, and he had to escape his home country in the early 90s during the Bosnian War. Ivan, barely a teenager, would move to Italy and devote his life to tennis. In 1995 he won his first junior championship and would continue to excel with career highlights that include reaching a Grand Slam semi-final at the 2006 French Open and an ATP World Masters 1000 title in 2010. He would then move into coaching, working with some of the best in the game like Milos Raonic and of course Roger Federer. In our chat, Ivan opens up about the challenging circumstances he experienced growing up and how this helped lead him to his successful career. Ivan also tells us about his amazing academy he started in Wimbledon, Croatia, which I hope to visit very soon, and what it's like to coach Roger Federer. But first, let's learn a bit more about his incredible journey in tennis began. Hi Ivan, welcome to the Functional Tennis Podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh no, thank you. It's a pleasure. We've recently relaunched the podcast and no better guest to get on than you and get this podcast underway. Another great episode. So excited to talk a lot about your early days, your playing career, your coaching career and what you're up to now. And there's so much to talk about. But let's first of all just talk about your early days. You didn't have a normal upbringing. You had quite a challenging upbringing. So tell us a bit about your upbringing and how tennis started for you in that journey.
Well, I mean, it was wild, obviously. I mean, now looking back, of course, when you're a kid, everything looks normal, right? You think that your childhood is like anybody's childhood, but it was rocky, it was tough. I grew up in former Yugoslavia, the country that doesn't exist anymore. And then we had a war in the early 90s. My family became a refugee. We were refugees and really left home when I was 13, never came back. Managed to stay afloat and stay alive for those tough months. It was 1992 was a very difficult year for my family. And I always mention my family because I was 13. Like, what did I know? Like, for me was, I didn't know what was going on. And I my parents made sure, especially my mom, she made sure that everything kind of looked okay. It's going to be fine. We're going to come back home. Don't worry. And, I was just going day by day. Focus was try to play tennis when you can. And just go to school and see what happens. And so the time went by, nothing was happening. We stayed away from our home. And then I got a call to go to Italy. And this was the breakthrough of my life. I think absolutely the most, maybe one of the most important moments of my life, my career. In 1993, I was 14. I was invited to be part of the group of players to visit that club and to stay there. We got offered, it was 10 of us. We got offered Le Pledi was name of the club in Moncalieri, which is right next to Turin in Italy. And this was incredible. I mean, the luck and the opportunity we got was amazing. It was the best club in Europe at the time. All the best Italian players were there. We were, I couldn't believe it when I got there. And then I slept in the club, practiced every day, all day for years. And my career went really incredibly fast up. I was not even, I was nowhere near to be the best in Croatia at the time. And a couple of years later, I was one of the best juniors in the world. So it was incredible luck, circumstance that happened to me, and then I took advantage of it. And then, those, I think those times many people don't know, but then, of course, once I hit the international stage, it's much easier to check how my junior career was and everything that happened later. 1995. We had I was 16. We had the first international result. We won Winter Cup as a team, Croatia, with Ivo Karlovic and me. We were big servers. People didn't know us. Nobody knew about us. And we ended up winning the whole thing, which is basically the team competition indoor during the winter that it's played. Now it's going to be played in February. And then 96, I started to play some juniors. Really beginning of the year, and then in April, May, I already won my first title, which was a grade 2 in Prato, and a couple of weeks later I played the Wimbledon final. I mean, everything happened so fast that I got first sponsorship contract with Adidas, which was fantastic for me because that then allowed me to invest more in my career and my team. So everything really from 93 to 97, things happened so fast that I came from absolutely nowhere to be one of the best juniors in the world.
And do you remember a day where you decided, okay, I'm all in here, I'm going to be professional?
I don't remember the day. I do remember, well, again, I think it's maybe when you are 12, 13, it's not you who makes decisions. It was definitely a decision of my parents. My parents and my father especially was the one because when we left as refugees from home, my father had to stay behind. And I do remember him telling my mom, whatever happens, try to make Ivan play tennis, right? We don't know. And then I actually saw my father 9 months later. We haven't seen each other. I didn't know anything about him for 9 months. But he did say, insist on tennis, right? So the life circumstance kind of put me in a position that I had no choice. It's not like I had a choice to decide, do I want to go to school? Do I want to go to this university, or do I want to play tennis? No, it was tennis or nothing, right? So in a way, it helped as well. When you don't have a choice, you just put all the eggs in that basket and you just go. In that sense, it helped me knowing that I have no other option. So to come back to your question, I don't remember necessarily the day, but I knew all my life, I knew that it's going to be tennis or nothing. And tennis it is.
So did you see that as a dream, or as, I know you're saying this is what I got to do. It's a bit different to a dream, isn't it, when you know this is your only option?
Yeah, but it was not enjoyable, I have to be honest, right? It's I started to enjoy tennis as such, or everything about tennis, I would say, once I broke into the top 10, top 5. Everything before that, I felt like it was a job. It was something that I had to do, something that would save my life and the life of my family and of my, everything. So for me, it was a lot of pressure, absolutely. And not necessarily I enjoyed, the practice days. And of course, you enjoy the winnings. But everything else is just, it's quite tough. I mean, but I also felt like, I never felt like I was suffering more than others. I felt like it's what you got to do. If you want to be one of the best in the world in something, it's not going to be comfortable. I mean, it's not supposed to be comfortable. So I never felt like suffering. It was an investment into trying to do something special or create something special.
And what was one of the biggest challenges you had to overcome? You say a lot of the other players might have had similar challenges, but for you during those junior years away from home in Turin, you're working for your life here, for your livelihood, for your family. For you, what was the biggest challenge you felt?
Oh, I miss my family. I mean, honestly, I was alone in Turin. It was way too early to leave the family. I was concerned. I was worried. That was the toughest part for sure. Those first year and a half in Italy was really difficult. I didn't speak the language. I was completely by myself, and that was tough. Later, I think every stage of my career, of my life, had different challenges, and they changed with the time. Your objectives, your goals change with the time. So, but that first period was by far the toughest. Now, do you feel the pressure going to play semi-final of Grand Slam? Of course you do. But you cannot compare that kind of pressure to the life pressure that you have at the beginning, where you literally have nothing, right? So that in a way, for sure, a lot of people ask me, did my childhood upbringing kind of shaped me? Did I become stronger because of it? Honestly, I have no idea. because I didn't find myself very often thinking about my past. I am still today a person that thinks about present and future. Looking back, oh my God, what a journey, absolutely amazing. But I never really sat down looking in the mirror thinking, my life it's hard, and because of it I'm stronger, and because of it I'm gonna make it. I never did it, but for sure what we as a family we went through, I think for sure it made me a bit tougher than maybe I normally would be.
I'm jumping on here. That was one of my questions for you further on here was, did that make you tougher? You see Novak as well had tough times in Belgrade. You see a lot of Eastern European players are so good because times were harder, those years. And I think it's made players like you and more resilient because they say you've only one option, you got to do it.
Yeah, probably. But honestly, again, I heard Novak's interviews and stuff, but it would be kind of good self to say, how I had a tough times and I thought that I'm going to be better because of this. And then it's not like this, you just go day by day. You try to do your best every day, and you have maybe more pressure than other kids who can choose if they want to play football, they want to play basketball, they want to play tennis, they want to go to school, they want to go out with friends. I didn't have those choices, so was it tougher? I don't know. It was my life. I didn't know any other life, so looking back from this position that I have today, it's tough. Like, I wouldn't go back to that. I can tell you that. But, it's not, I cannot say that, while I was there, that I was thinking I'm mentally stronger than others. I think it's just something that you are or you're not. And then with the time, whatever you're going through your life, it kind of shapes you even more. But in that particular moment, you use what you have around you. I think it's quite actually simple.
Maybe less choices is what it comes down to, where you spend more time on court, you've less distractions.
I'm convinced. Yes, I'm convinced that too many choices is not good at early stage of anybody's life.
And moving on, so when you worked with Riccardo Piatti for 15 years throughout your career, how did you begin working with Riccardo?
Well, he was one of the coaches in that club where I came as a refugee, as a kid. But I didn't work with him at the time. He was working with top Italian players, Cristiano Caratti, Renzo Furlan, Omar Camporese. They were top players, and he was their coach. Then later in 1997, when I was 18 years old, he called me up, and obviously we knew each other because we spent time together in the same club. But he called me up and said he wanted to create like a junior team. That the pro players that I just mentioned, they were about to, they were getting older. So he wanted to create young team. And I was one of the players that he wanted to have in the team. And I said, of course, yes, without any doubt. And other players that he invited actually never came. So all of a sudden, this junior team, it was only me, which was fantastic for me because I got all of his attention. And that's how we started.
Wow. And what is the secret working with a coach for 15 years? Because, we see a lot of great relationships built over long-term partnerships. And for you, what was the secret in maintaining that relationship and being able to work with him for so long? And him work with you, by the way.
Yeah, but from my side, it's quite simple. It's trust. I had the best coach in the world. I believed so, and I just stuck with it. I never once in my life I thought that I should change or I'm supposed to change or he was my coach, and all I got was with him. Never once in my life or a moment I thought, maybe I should do something else or try something different. He was the person that knew me the best. So now looking back, would I do the same? Honestly, I have no idea. Maybe now, because back in the days, there were not like two coaches. Now it's very popular to have two coaches, but back then it was this: if you don't like it, change it. Now looking back, maybe, this two coaches thing would work to have him, because I would never get rid of him, because I think he was incredibly valuable for me. But maybe I would add another person, another maybe former player or another figure to the team. But, back then it was not something that people were doing.
Who would you add if you were playing now and you Riccardo in the corner, you'd add one more? Would you add Roger?
I never got this question. Who would I don't know. Obviously Goran comes to mind. as a first person that I've for sure. But we are so different. That's why we like each other. We have a great relationship because we are completely different. I'm not sure if it work out, as a work relationship. But I don't know. I honestly, I never got this question. Who would I? Don't know. I mean, you got me. I really no idea. I'll try. Maybe as we go on, maybe somebody will come up.
Have a
But
think.
yeah, it's a great question.
When you said for you felt comfortable after you made top 10, you felt a bit more comfortable. Did anything change? Did the fire stop burning? What drove you then? Once you hit the top 10, what was igniting the fire inside?
Yeah, it was different. Of course, playing tournaments your basically entire career, your life, where semifinal it's a great result, to then basically overnight semifinals becomes bad result. It's a big change. It's a big change.
Yeah.
And that's something that, that was something that for me was not easy to get used to, but, you just go with it. I had a dip a little bit in kind of motivation in 2007, 2008, where I felt like I reached my peak, and that, motivation, it's, when I say motivation was not there, not that I'm just saying that it was not as 110% as it was up until then, which is needed to kind of always keep improving. Now looking back, I should have maybe changed maybe way of practice, or maybe what we spoke about earlier, maybe add another person in the team just to kind of change your perspective a little bit, because it became a little bit slow at one point. It became like I would be doing always the same things. And 2005, 2006, I was winning tournaments, playing the finals almost every week. And then 2007, 2008, I kind of dropped to 15, 20 in the rankings, which was okay, of course, but I felt like I missed something. I felt like I missed an injection of new energy of some kind. Now looking back, maybe, adding another person, and again, we go back to that, would have, ignite that spark again. But it was a bit different. And then that's where I stopped also in 2000. I was thinking about stopping in 11, and then I stopped in 10, because I felt like, the best is behind me. And I wanted, and when you realize that, it's very difficult to motivate yourself to push every day, because if you were once number 3, number 5, or number 7 in the world, and then you find yourself in number 30, which is fantastic, but knowing that you cannot go back to top 10, then it's tough. Then it becomes really just going week by week. You play quarters, you travel, and then it's not fun anymore. And that's where I decided it's better to stop now, because I'm healthy, I'm fine, I have energy. I rather focus on doing something else than, just keep dragging this thing while actually not enjoying it.
Yeah, it seems to me like something that would really hurt inside when you've held it before and you just can't grasp it anymore.
This is where tennis is tough, because you still can beat the top guys, right? It's not about that. You do beat them occasionally here and there. This is where you hope, okay, now here we go, right? And then it doesn't happen actually, right? So that's what I got a lot of questions about Roger as well, like why is he still playing, but he's still playing because he's the best in the world, or one of the best in the world, right? So it's not as a tennis player, you don't go like from 5 to 15 in 6 months, right? If you drop, you drop gradually, and then every once in a while you kind of still do a good result, and you go back up. Yeah. So nobody can really tell you, you're not good enough anymore, right? As long as you can run, as long as you can play, if you have been top 10, you're always going to be 30, 35. I mean, look at Andy Murray, right? It's the same kind of thing. He can beat the best in the world. I truly believe that Andy with Rafa tomorrow, I don't know who's gonna win one match, right? But when you go, like you look at the season, Andy is losing matches against the guys that he was not losing before. It's not about beating that one guy once. And this is where then eventually it becomes, you realize, or you don't, or it doesn't matter. I mean, Andy just loves playing, which I appreciate and I respect immensely, right? For me, I didn't find fun being 35 in the world.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm actually going through your list here of the players you played, like such a span. Kurtin, Safin, Kafelnikov, Roddick, and then with the Federer, Nadal's, Novak, Goran, Wawrinka, Maya, Baghdad. It's like, you played through so many eras there. Is there anything that this particular group of players, they're all legends of the game, is there one thing that they have that the others don't have?
Well, first we have three guys, right, that are different than others, and I played all of them many times. Then the players that you mentioned, they do kind of, there is something, right? There is something. They know how to win matches. They understand the dynamics of the match a bit better than maybe the level down, right? And this is where I remember, especially Guga, he would not return one serve for an hour and a half. Like, it was so easy to play against him. For me as a big server, he would just not return any. And then all of a sudden, 5-all in a second, 30-all, you feel a little bit tense, and he goes back, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a rally that you have not been in an hour and a half, and he just goes, boom, back and down the line winner. It's those moments that those top players, they understand how to play and how to win matches, because I also, like now with the kids that I teach, it's not, when you see somebody playing, there are ball hitters, you hitting the ball, it's one thing, but playing matches, winning matches, playing tennis, it's something different, right? And sometimes I spend, some of them are fast learner, but some kids, I spend 1 year explaining that it's not the forehand inside in that you missed, it's the shot that you should not have played in that moment, right? So it's actually understanding, and what I find very difficult with the kids these days, they don't watch tennis. They don't, and when I talk about watching tennis, it's not highlights, right? It's not 10 seconds or not even 10 minutes kind of wrap of a match. I'm talking about sitting in a stance and watching a match for 2 hours, trying to understand what happened, why this guy won and why this guy lost. Why is it? And then you go day by day by day by day, and this is how you learn tennis. And this just does not happen these days. It's just not possible. And I'm not, one of those, we have to go back to old days. No, old days are old days and they're gone. So, but it's for me as a coach now, as a teacher, like I feel like a lot of pressure to explain everything because I know they're not watching. Like I cannot expect a kid to kind of come back next day and tell me, I watched this match and I saw this amazing. No, it's not happening. Unfortunately, it's not happening.
And why do these guys have those great decision awareness and decision-making skills? Is it something they're great coaches or they were quick learners? Why?
I don't know. They are just different. This is where you see also when you're teaching, when you're coaching, some kids they just get it. They just understand quicker. They just implement what you're telling them, and others are just not, and then you get the parents who complain to you, that, this kid has a better treatment than my kid. It's no, this kid is faster. I'm sorry. Like, and you cannot, it's hard to explain. It's some players are just better and they're faster learner. They just get it, and those are in the end the best in the world. And again, we talk about the pressure in our sport. It's not for everybody, and it's not easy. If you want to be the best or top 10, top 20 in the world in anything, like what do you expect? Of course there is pressure. Of course it's hard. And this, traveling the world, playing, losing, a lot of losing, it's lonely, it's tough, and it's not, some people are just done for this and some are not. So, and sometimes when you realize that you're not for it, then it's painful.
Yeah, well, it's whether you can move on quickly then, get out of there and move on. Yeah. Where did you, after you finished playing, did you always have in your head that you were going to go into coaching?
Not at all. No, not at all. It came as a surprise to me as well. I got a call from one of the agents for Milos Raonic, Raonic agent, Amit Naor, and he asked me if I would be interested in coaching Milos. And for me, it was, he was, I don't remember now, he was like 25 in the world, young, upcoming, great potential. I said, you know what? If I'm ever going to actually do this coaching gig, this is the guy. This is it. So I flew. He was in Rome. I flew to Rome. I spoke to Milos. I spoke to the agent, and I said, guys, let's try. I mean, I'm happy to help. And he had other options, other coaches that he considered and he interviewed. And then I went back home and got a call. Would you come to Paris Roland Garros with me, Milos? So that's how it started. But it was not given for me. No, I did not. I was always somebody who liked strategy. I liked putting my head in and trying to think and try to analyze. But to be a coach or to be a good coach, I didn't know. It was not something that I was like, okay, this is what I want to do.
And did you enjoy it at the start?
It was tough. Start was hard because Milos didn't do so well at the beginning, especially on grass, which we would have, expect him to do so well. He lost first round in Halle, first round in Eastbourne, second round in Wimbledon. It was tough. Some really bad losses. And then we sat down after Wimbledon and told him, listen, like this kind of test period finished. So do you believe in me? And I would like to, I think I have a lot to give you, and he, I mean, credit to him. He said, no, let's go. I believe you can help me. So then results started to come. And then obviously he also came to number 3 in the world. So it was a fantastic journey.
How did you and Roger begin working together?
Well, it was, strange. No, it's not strange, but I was in London for the finals. In 2015, I was commentating for Sky, Italian Sky. But Roger and I were close friends, and my wife was also in town, so invited my wife and me for dinner with his wife, and we just had casual dinner. We have a lot of those, and by the end of it, he just like very casually asked me, "Would you coach me?" And I was yes. So. I didn't know he was not going further with Stefan Edberg, so I was really surprised. And then we started to talk about the goals and about his game, what I thought about his game, and so on and so on. It happened very quickly. So then a couple of weeks later, I was in Dubai.
Well, what did he ultimately? Why you?
I don't know. I mean, that's a question for him. Why me? I don't know, but I do know that I knew his game very well. I played 16 times against him. We knew on the private level, on personal level, we knew each other. He knows he can trust me. Like I guess I checked all the boxes that he was looking for. Obviously, you don't know if it's gonna work out or not. This you don't know. But he just I also played against most of the guys that they were still on tour. In 2015-16 when I joined Roger's team. So. I think those are the reasons. I mean, again, but that's a question for him. I actually never read anybody asking him that, so I would be curious to see what he says.
If you can set up the meeting, I'll ask him for you. What do you see? What did you or do you see in him that most people wouldn't know about? Like, is there some sort of magic characteristic, or what makes him so special? I know we know from the outside we know certain things, but is there anything else that you're amazed at once you got closer to him and you're in the change rooms with him?
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I think he is what you see. He's not trying to be something for public and then privately is different. It's not like that. So I think the people by now, they got pretty good idea of who he is and how he is. He's a funny guy. He likes jokes. He likes to have very good times in terms of, atmosphere, good vibes, a lot of laughs, a lot of singing, a lot of, being happy and then work hard. I think this is something that people don't talk enough, how hard worker he is, because obviously we wouldn't have won everything that he did without that, because the people think that everything is kind of comes easy to him, but you don't play tennis like this without really working super hard.
I did ask some of our followers, a small group, them to have a question for you, and the one question that came back was, how did you convince Roger to change his backhand?
Well, first of all, I didn't change his backhand. That's the first answer. It's more maybe how he uses his backhand. But that was, I think everything kind of clicked in that Australian Open final in 2017 against Rafa. He decided to take the ball early. and hit that backhand flat, and then just worked out so well in that match that he kept doing it for many months and years later. So that was something that is just worked out. It was not, again, coaching at that level doesn't really look like, okay, Roger, why don't you hit the backhand like this, and then he steps in and does it. It doesn't work like that. So but I think that particular match gave him a lot of confidence with that shot, and he then kept using it.
From your playing career, your coaching career, and watching Croatia at the World Cup, for you, which one did you find the most stressful?
Coaching, by far. Yeah, coaching, sitting in the stands. Well, I mean, now the coaching is allowed, but when I was coaching Roger and Milos, coaching was not allowed. So sitting in the stands, not being able to say anything, and just suffer and hope and pray and whatever, everything that comes, nothing you can do. Is just hard. That's the most stressful part, absolutely, by far.
Well, yeah, I can only imagine how you've no control of it. And are you pro in-game coaching or not?
No, completely against. I think it damages our game immensely. I think it just takes away so much from what we were special for, and the pressures and then the stress that players have to find a way to go through themselves. I think coaching it's absolutely a bad idea for our sport, but I guess modern times come with modern ideas, and I'm afraid looks like we lost that fight.
Not yet. Well, you're big into chess, which we'll talk about a bit in a while, and a bit like having your chess trainer to your right hand side helping you with the moves. It'd be the exact same as that, isn't it?
No, it's bad. I think it's a bad idea. Honestly, I don't see any benefit from it. It's just bad. It's as simple as that. I think also generally, as an idea, somebody telling you what to do. I mean, what kind of a person you are? I mean, what do you become? Like, even when you stop playing, it's like, what? There's always going to be somebody telling you what to do. I mean, it's just bad idea. As simple as that.
I completely agree with you. Speaking to Ivan, you really get a sense of the mental strength he managed to develop to achieve the things he had in his career and life. I'm not surprised he's against in-game coaching, and I think it can tell you a lot about why he makes such a great coach. Independent thinking and self-reliance is the key for any athlete who wants to make it to the top of the game, and encouraging that in younger players will only benefit them. This is just a quick reminder you're listening to Functional Tennis, the podcast that helps you get 1% better every day. With me, Fabio Molle. Coming up, Ivan reveals one of the biggest problems he sees in the juniors of today, and he also tells us about his new role in the French Federation. But first, let's learn a bit more about Ivan's tennis academy. Okay, so moving on to more present day time. We're going to talk about your academy. Your brother-in-law told me all about it. Looks absolutely amazing over there. The weather, he says it's sunny most time of the year, which sounds amazing. But I don't know how to pronounce the location. Can you tell me how to pronounce it?
Loshing.
Loshing.
Yes.
And when did you set it up?
We started, officially, we had like a soft opening in July 2 years ago, 2021. So that was kind of, we started using the courts more than really opening the academy. And then we had first players in September 21.
And what's your goal of the academy? What sort of players are you going to have?
Yeah, well, I mean, generally we have most of the players are kids, are age 14 to 18, 19. This is, but we have also pros coming, and we have everything really, because the facilities, as you said, are so nice. It's really beautiful here. And what I find particularly good here is that it's easy to stay focused. We are on the island. The hotel, it's right next door, right, like literally attached to the courts. You don't lose time on traffic. You don't lose time on anything. You're here. You practice. This goes a little bit to my days in Italy. And this is where I got the idea, what I wanted to create. It's something like this, that the people get together. What we have, the kids, they play each other, with each other, also outside of the court. We have chess boards, you just mentioned. We have kids get socialized, which is very important, I think, these days, to try to get kids to stay off tablets, phones, and then just enjoy the nature, because here, it's beautiful, 365 days a year. Obviously, we have some rainy days, but again, the temperatures are mild. We can stay outside every day of the year, and it's just very calm. It's very, as I said, easy to stay focused. And I see this in kids, how fast they improve when they come here. You see immediately there's no distractions. That's one of the most important parts here.
Going on your experience when you were in, let's say, Turin, no family there. Now you have kids at your academy with no family, their family aren't there. Do you have a better understanding for them?
Yes, of course. Now it's different with the phones and video calls and calls. Back in the days, we didn't have those. So yes, but I do. Yes, we do have we have a person who is responsible for the kids underage who are here without parents. We're really trying to take extra care of those, but of course we always suggest and we ask parents not to leave, especially the kids 12, 13 is too early. I mean, it's just, the parents should always be with them, and then we didn't have any issues, luckily, so far. And so we do prefer parents being with kids. But again, we have option if, the parents cannot stay here, or if they want to leave a kid for a week or two. I mean, that's of course not a problem.
And can adults come and train there for a weekend, for a week? Do you offer those programs?
Absolutely. We haven't done it so far. We had some test packages last year in 2022, but for 23 we are fully ready for those as well. I mean, it's just, it would be pity not to leave this place also to those who wants to come here and enjoy recreational tennis. We are organizing European championships for the seniors, 30 and plus, all categories, which is going to be in June. So those people, we had it last year, and everybody who came here was amazed of where we are and how beautiful everything is. So I really invite everybody, just come for a couple of days, just come and see. And then if you don't like it, please, okay, no problem, never come back. But I'm pretty sure then it is going to become one of your regular visits that for the future.
I'll have to sign up for the 35s in June, so for the best 35.
Well, that's the toughest category. Yeah, that's the toughest. I find 35s and 40s are the toughest category. But hey, if you don't try, you will never know. We
had Fred Gill on the podcast a while ago, and he was 35s champion. So you come across him first round, you're like, oh, this wasn't meant to happen. Like, you're meant to be still on tour.
But there are doubles, there are mixed doubles. So, there's other opportunities. And you can also have a good time. That's
true. It's all about having a good time, isn't it? And so moving on to present day, you got a new job for the French Tennis Federation. Tell me about it.
It's really, I'm at the beginning of it. The idea now it's for me to meet a lot of coaches, a lot of people, to understand their structure, because it's a huge federation, really big. They have national centers that I'm, visiting these days. So I'm really at this first stage where I'm getting to know everything and everybody. This is a phase one. And then phase two is going to be sitting with the team, and we're going to analyze everything and decide where I can help the most. So this is, and of course they have Olympic Games in Paris in 2024, which is huge. And, I'm going to try to help those players who are going to be competing at the Olympics to try to win some medals.
Nice. It's a big challenge. And is it going to be, is it a full-time job based in Paris?
It's not necessarily based for one particular place. So it's, as I said, I'm going to be visiting, they have a lot of different places, clubs, regions. For me, it's really understanding the structure of the federation. Then I'm talking about phase one. Phase two, it could be that I will be spending time in Paris, absolutely, because that's where CNE, as they call it, Centre National d'Entraînement, so the National Training Center, it's in Paris. It's right next to Roland Garros. So this is where, of course, I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time.
Nice. Well, best of luck with that.
Thank you.
Hopefully France they're due to get a few new players to come through, so hopefully you can guide them through. And look, we're all a lot about getting 1% better every day at functional tennis and encouraging that throughout the tennis world. But there's certain characteristics you need to do that, and patience and discipline is one. When you look at junior players, how do you encourage discipline and consistency? How would you encourage that as a coach?
It's it's one of the challenges of the coaches these days. Patience, especially with, again, we go back to the gadgets and phones, and they get everything very quickly. I hate to see kids eating with the phones like this, in front of their eyes. It's just very hard then to expect them to understand what patience or what investing time means. Because everything in life for them, it's like, boom, you get it right there. Like you click, 2 clicks, you get your new whatever pair of shoes tomorrow, it's at your doorstep, so it's very difficult. When we talk about discipline, I mean, this is something that you just gotta do, right? So you have 2 ways of getting things done. One, it's being motivated, and second, it's having discipline. If motivation doesn't work, then discipline needs to kick in. If you're motivated, we are not talking about the discipline. It's easy, it's there, right? So you have to understand the concept of motivation and discipline, and make sure that everything is done. Again, being part of the academy, or the way also we do it here, it's quite simple, because you cannot not do things. You don't need discipline in a way, because you're always guided. You're always, you're gonna be there. It's easy in a way. You don't have to have a self-discipline in order to kind of do things, but discipline is required when you're out there by yourself. Yeah. When you have to do things that are not regular, when you need to read a book, when you need to kind of do something for 3 months, 6 months consistently every day. For that, you need absolutely a discipline.
Yeah. And what about long-term view where, players under 14 may lose a match and they get really upset and they think it's all over? How do you get them to buy into your success will come over the long term? It's not about today or tomorrow. Once you stick to the plan.
I didn't encounter a lot of kids who don't understand the long term. The opposite that I find. I have one particular player here in the academy who is 16, is about to be 17. And he talks to me about when I play futures, I play challengers. This I say, whoa. Like he's almost too far ahead. Instead of being today present. Like what about next week? And if you win this junior tournament, and if you win 2-3 tournaments in a row, then we're gonna go to futures. It's okay. So for me, it's more that than the other way around, right? If somebody loses, you just put him on the tennis court, practice, you hit like 50 forehands, and they already feel better, right? So for me, that's not a problem. And again, I don't necessarily think it's a negative thing, players feeling bad when they lose. I mean, you need to have that fire in you.
When you see, let's say a parent calls you or somebody calls you, look, I have this kid, he's really good, he's 12, potential for the future. What characteristics do you look in somebody young that could potentially lead to them having a good career?
Well, I mean, first of all, I always say, listen, okay, fine, great, fantastic, come. I need to see it first. And what I like to do with the kids when they come, or players, doesn't matter what age, I make them play points. Show me how you win a set, because forehands, backhands, serves, these, that, everybody's good, like, especially, you know what I mean? You don't see much, but how do you use those? How do you behave? How do you attack? Do you defend? Do you become passive? Are you angry? Like, this is, I see through the points. And usually, when you put kids in such position, when they come here and they know that they're being watched, and even that practice set, it becomes like a competition set, right? It's not really a practice set. So you really get exactly what you're dealing with, right? So this is what I want to see first. And then you go step by step, at that age, when you talked about 12, it's really not about winning, it's about how you go about things, it's how you go day by day, and they should not be really practicing every day yet at that age. And I see so many practicing way too much at that age, because if they are the best in the world under 10 or under 12, is because they practice too much. I can tell you right away. You need to still tell me who was the best in the world under 10 and was then later number 1 in the world. It just doesn't happen, right? So this is what the parents then need to understand, that it's not how much you do something, but it's the quality of the work. And of course, focus on the improvement, technical, physical, but also mental. They need to, today I was speaking to one friend of mine, and we discussed about life coaching or how do you go about things? How do you prepare today? How do you prepare kids for the future? And it's not about bringing their bag to the courts. It's not about solving their problems for them. That doesn't prepare them for the future. It's about giving them tools to be ready for unexpected. Because tennis, I mean, in general in life, but in tennis generally, it's about adapting to unexpected situation every day, right? If you give all the answers, if you solve all the issues for those kids too early and all the time, when they get on the tennis court, they're going to feel lost. they're going to feel completely lost because they will always expect that somebody else solves their issues. And that's not great.
No, you talk a lot of truth there. I like it. And just again, this is something totally different, but you were competitive your whole life, got number 3 in the world, all the titles you won. Today, how do you burn your competitive energy?
Chess. I lose a lot of chess games these days. That calms me down.
Chess is your magic, and you're competitive. Yeah. Are you going to play in the World Championships? How good are you?
No, for me, the thing about chess, I don't know how much you know about chess, but whatever the level you are, and you play 10 games, you're going to win 5 and you're going to lose 5. Doesn't matter what level you play. So for me to get better, I'm not interested. I don't, I play good chess, decent chess, I guess, but I'm not interested in getting better. It's my therapy, my mind therapy. I know if I play at the highest level, I'm still going to win 5 and lose 5. It's just going to be at the high level, right? So yeah. I don't have time. I don't have energy to invest into getting better. So I just enjoy chess as it is.
And do you still like striking tennis balls?
It goes up and down. I play with my son. I really only hit balls with my son these days. Sometimes, actually, this week I hit some balls with the players in the academy, and I liked it. For very long, it was not something, because again, it goes back to what I just told you. Once you're used to serve 3 aces a game, and then you struggle to put the serve in because your shoulder just doesn't go anymore, then it's not fun anymore, right? So, but I think I will be playing a bit more this year and the years to come. I feel it.
Nice. And tell me, what advice do you have for players and coaches who want to be 1% better every day?
Focus on today. Try to make today 1% better than yesterday. No revolutions. Revolutions don't solve anything. Quick fix doesn't exist. Just step by step, 1% better today than yesterday.
I like it. Quick fixes don't exist. No. Yeah, thank you very much for that. And that is it. I just have a few short questions for you now, and then we're finished. So I've taken up enough of your time. Ivan, what's the one match you tell your kids about at nighttime? What's the bedtime story match?
For me, that I speak about? Indian Wells, semis and final. Rafa and Raonic, those were 2 beautiful matches. 7-6 in the third and 7-6, 7-6 is those that I won. I have one amazing one that I lost, 7-6 in the fifth, again against Rafa in the final of Madrid indoors. Yeah, I don't really talk too much about my tennis to my kids. I don't. My son is 14, my daughter is 11, and I think they're just about now to discover who I am. So I realized my son was scrolling through YouTube trying to find some of my matches. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit old, so YouTube didn't exist back then. But he did find some matches there.
I say it's like, great, Daddy, you were amazed. I'd say it's a great feeling when you see the great videos of you playing them.
No, but what I find also with the kids, kids these days, they almost don't know that I played. The young ones, this Rogers coach, Milos coach, he's a coach, But then you tell them, I also played. Oh, really? Oh, I was number 3 in the world. Then you see the shock. So it's this new generation that they don't really go deep, and I also had one player that I was completely shocked. He's 18, 19. Guy likes to go to the net, servant volleyer, plays a lot of volleys, and then I tried to explain him something about the volley, and I said, Patrick Rafter, and I saw a hole in his eye. I said, Patrick Rafter. And he looked at me and said, you don't know who Patrick Rafter is? He said, no, I don't. And I was like, this is what drives me nuts. How can you not know who Patrick Rafter is? He's number 1 in the world, 2 Grand Slams, the most famous servant volleyer maybe ever, and you are going to the net all the time, and you don't know who that is. Like this for me is just crazy, and makes me mad. I have to say.
You need to have tennis education classes in your academy.
We
tennis
should,
school.
That's a good idea. We should have the academy, like history of tennis.
So I have 3 lessons you have to give us. What's the one lesson you learned from Milos?
Learn how to relax. He needs to learn how to relax. Now, I think by now he learned it.
Oh, no. We got this. Oh, that's actually, my question actually worked out good. It was like, what one lesson did you learn from Milos?
What I learned from him. I don't know what I learned from him. I mean, he did impress me, I have to say, with his work ethics. That was insane, really. Like, I have never encountered a person who is so disciplined and so to the goal, right? amazing. I mean, maybe that's something that I learned from him, like discipline and work ethic. Incredible.
But he had to learn to relax.
Yes. I hope he learned by now. I haven't seen him in a while. I don't know where he is. I hope he's well. Yeah, but he needs to learn how to, switch off.
One lesson from Riccardo Piatti.
Oof, one?
Oh, okay. Your top lesson. Your most important lesson from Riccardo.
If you work right, if you work correct, if you do everything right, you're going to make it. And he made me believe, and I made it, and I will be thankful for life. And I'm going to try to teach that to kids I work with, is that really just trust the process. Just trust the process, trust the people, and things will happen. Just have patience. And because when I started to work with him, I was ranked about 300 ATP. 2 years later, I was still 300, right? I stuck with it. And then I exploded, and then everything happened. So sometimes you just need to have patience and, trust the process.
But you have to have the right team around you.
That's true. And you don't know when that is. That's the tricky part.
That is the tricky part. And final question, your top lesson from Roger.
What I learned from him. The day has a lot more than 24 hours. My God. What he's able to squeeze in one day. I don't know how he does it. I mean, it's just insane. I tell you, like when I would go home for a couple of weeks and then I would, go back to work with him, like first 2 days, I'm tired. Like I don't know, I ran 3 marathons just by standing next to him and just following him in oh my God. I mean, it's incredible. It's just insane.
Ivan, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Very insightful. I learned a lot there. And thank you very much.
No worries. I'm waiting for you and to see you in Loshin.
That's all the time we have for you in the podcast today. Thank you so much, Ivan, for coming on the show. It was very insightful and powerful. And I'm sure there's a new generation of juniors who will usually benefit from all that you've learned in the game and continue to make such an impact on the sport. Just a few quick notes before we go. Make sure to follow the show so you get automatically notified about new episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. If you would like to learn more about me or the work we do at Functional Tennis, visit our website at functionaltennis.com. You can also follow the show on Instagram at the Functional Tennis Podcast and with me on Twitter, FabMall. This podcast is produced by One Fine Play. James Bishop is the executive producer. Connor Foley is the series producer. Kazra is our superb audio engineer and editor. I've been your host, Fabio Molli. Thanks for listening to the Functional Tennis Podcast.